Hi guys, as usual, I was skateboarding to clear my mind. I looked up and thought, why not model this place? So here I am. Breaking down the project into layers before starting environmental modeling really speeds up the process. First, I simply divided it into layers. Then, we will enhance the scene with modeling. We will successfully create the scene with the texture and animation section. Let's get started. First, add a plane to the scene to create the main ground. Switch to edit mode and extrude downwards. Add a camera to the scene. I am adjusting the position of the camera. Add a plane for the sea. If you divide the scenes into layers like this, you can model much more comfortably. I am adding a plane to the scene for the breakwater in the same way. I am duplicating the plane for the building's ground. Go to edit mode and subdivide to 100. Check this point and adjust the shape of the ground. You can change the size with the middle mouse wheel. Add a cube for create the buildings. Switch to edit mode and change the scale of the cube. Select all objects and duplicate the cube. Similarly, create cubes in different sizes like this. Add an array modifier and adjust the settings of the cubes. Duplicate the buildings and adjust the scene as desired. Here, I am changing the size of the buildings to make them look different. Select all buildings and press M to create a new collection. Select the main ground and add a new texture. Add a masquerade texture and color ramp. We are using this texture for the details on the ground. Press Ctrl T. Add a noise texture and color ramp. Add mix color. I am trying to mimic the details on the ground, although it's not exactly the same. I am changing the color of the ground. Duplicate the color ramp and connect with noise texture to roughness. Adjust the color ramp. Now we will create tiles of the ground. Add a wave texture. To preview, hold Ctrl Shift and click on the texture. We will copy and connect wave textures to create lines on the X and Y axis. Add mix color. Select darken and increase the factor. Add a bump and connect to normal. Add map range. Decrease the minimum value. Duplicate the bump and connect with the nose texture. Adjust the strength. I have decided to change the texture mapping from UV to object. This way it looks more accurate. I will create black areas on the ground. Follow my steps. Switch to edit mode to change the color of the edge of the ground. Add loop cuts to the ground with Ctrl R. With the area you want to change the color selected, copy the material and click on the Assign button. Change the color. I am doing the same process for this area as well. Now, add a new texture to the sea. Set the roughness value to 0 and transmission value to 1. Add a noise texture and color ramp. Add a bump. I set the color ramp like this and decided to connect the bump with the noise texture. Next is the Breakwater. Add a Voronoi texture and color ramp. Follow my steps. I will use the still reference I downloaded from the internet for the buildings. Add an image texture and select to the reference image. Switch to edit mode and press numpad 1 to view from the front. Press UK and select project from view. Go to UV editor and adjust the UV map. Apply the same steps for the other buildings as well. Add a new texture to the ground of the buildings. Add noise texture and color ramp. We don't need to add a very detailed texture. First, add a cube to create a foggy atmosphere. Scale it to cover entire city. Change the viewport display to bounce. Delete Principal BSDF and Add principled volume. Change EV to cycles. Follow my steps or adjust the scene as desired. Go to world shading and add a environment texture. I will use an HDRI I downloaded from the internet. There will be links in the description. I am adjusting the position of the sky. Add a mix color. Change to multiply. Add a sky texture. Reduce the exposure from here. After making some changes to the scene, I am adding the models I downloaded from the internet. We will also model the small spheres over here. Add a UV sphere and decrease the segments to 8. Add bevel modifier to sphere. Adjust the modifier. Add shade smooth. Switch to edit mode and duplicate the sphere. I am simply adding textures to the spheres. In the final stage, we will add animation to our scene.
Have a nice ball, you stupid bitch.
I will use rotation settings to create animation in the scene. Hover over the rotation when on the first frame, then press the I key. Go to last frame and change the rotation settings. Press I. If it's too slow or fast, adjust the settings and try again. I will also add simple animation to the objects on the water's surface. Click this button. This way, an automatic keyframe will be added with every change you make. Follow my steps. Same steps for the camera animation. Here I wanted to add a swinging effect optionally. I'm applying the modifier we added to the Y and Z rotations. Scene is done. Here are the render settings like this.
Ain't nothing like a funky beat.